Well, welcome folks. How's everybody doing? Happy New Year. It's my first stream since in 2022. How's the year going so far? New Year's resolutions in the chat now. Do it. I got them. We're gonna start the new year as we finish the last with some Patry Balanovsky sculpts. But this time we're doing something a little bit different than the last few. We're doing this kind of creature thing, so it'll be a bit fun. It's also my first stream since starting my new job that I announced in the last stream for anyone who's there that missed it. Working with Marvel. I'm still half getting prepped here, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm off, man. But yeah, so far so good. It's been a decent new year. Let us know how yours are going and how your new year's, new year, new you. How's all that going for you? Fill us in. For a cuppa. There's Sean. Marvellous. Cheers, brother. We'll let people get into the stream and stuff. People still join. I should, and I always forget to tell people on our Instagram that we're going live. Let's do this. Say hi to yourselves. It's awkward. Let's just do this. That was a terrible picture. You'd know I was a professional, huh? Literally on the stream, announcing the stream. Screw it. If you're here, you're here, huh? Don't mind those scrubs. Hey, Zete. Oh, Happy New Year. I was trying to read Hinel, but yeah, Happy New Year to you, bro. Zombie Killer in good vibes. Yeah, so we're gonna do some creature sculpting. This should be a fun one. Reminds me of a goldfish. The reason I wanted to do this one was because I was thinking if I texture it, I could do like a funny effect. And I was trying to think like, how would I do that with, like, I always use Arnold to be rendered. I was like, how would I do that in Arnold to get, you know, that like shimmer, like different colored shimmer on goldfish, something like that. But then I was thinking I'd have to like move the camera, I'd have to animate the camera so you can actually see the shimmer. We'll see what we can do. John Lloyd all the way from Melbourne. Thank you very much, John. Fair play and welcome. J Crew 3D. I can't enlarge that. What does it see? So yeah, anyway, that's the crack. Yeah, I said I'd start the new fresh and new year. I should actually show you, I forgot. For any of you that watched the last stream, I'll show you, if you haven't seen it, how that render turned out for the last monster we did. So this was the first Patry Balanovsky head that we did. There he is, all his texture glory. And the idea of these, of course, is that they're quick sculpts and so on. There's your 2D. So the sculpt, the stream and all is there if you just want to watch it, if you haven't seen that one. And then this was the second one that we did. Did a couple of shots now. You've got the 2 streams that we did that in. That's the first one, and that's the second one. You can tell by the progress. So if you've seen it, there's the finished product. If you didn't and you want to watch them, the 2 streams are there. And it goes through, I think it even goes through Polypaint if I'm not wrong, but I think I added to the painting in Substance Painter after the fact when I did a bit of texture. But I did, like, the base texture is all done in Polypaint ZBrush. Right, shall we? Gonzalo Espanol, welcome. Hey guys, happy new year, all the way from Germany. Thanks for joining Flatmate Animation Studio. There's a whole studio in. Irving X is asking, do I like to do manual or automatic retopology more? I wish I could just do automatic topology, but it's usually not an option, because especially for characters, because they deform in such specific ways, so you really need to do it manually. I mean, there's plugins and there's ways to kind of get you very close, and sometimes it'll do the job, but a lot of the time, especially like if you're doing something like this, you really have to be specific with the topology and stuff. So I generally just do it manually. I prefer to do it manually. So I do. Samples, turn off spotlight projection. That's the job. So go on, I'm waiting to hear what's your New Year's resolutions. Do you have any? Did you just give up on that? How do you figure out the proportions? Asks Maya Bolt Romyuk. What? Why can't you just have nice, easy names that I can just boom off the tip of the tongue? Maya Bolt Romyuk. There we go. That's what we're going with. How did you figure out the proportions? Do you have some kind of method or just good eye? Whether it's good or not, I don't know, but yeah, just by eye. I just eyeball it. You want to get in all the pieces you can early on, because everything is going to be in relation to everything around it, so you want to get in all the different pieces, and it doesn't have to be, it can be messy, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be precise about it or anything. And once you have them all in, then just start shoving things around until you get something, until it starts to feel correct, until 2D. I mean, of course, you have your see-through up here. You can use that, put the image behind it if you want to do that. I don't like to do it so much. It's definitely really useful when you really need to, especially in like a production environment where you really have to, you know, you're really tied to getting the thing to look exactly like. But especially, definitely during my own work, I never do that, because you get good at what you practice, right? So If I always try to do it by eye, then I'll get better at doing it by eye. Where if I use something like that, then it's kind of like using a crutch. So I try not to use anything that, at least in my personal work, you know, when you're in production, sometimes time is of the essence, and you can't afford to be using everything as practice all the time. But whenever I can, I always do. So if I can do something by eye, or I can do something the manual way, I generally will, because I learn more that way. Song's a bit, wasn't feeling it. John's New Year's resolution is getting better at ZBrush and Substance workflow. Nice, there. That's a good resolution. Can't argue with that. Let's do this. Stitch you here. Now we can extrude this on polygons, please, like so. What? Hold on. Yeah, no, that is no fun. I know it's low for you, but I don't want it that low. Sean's New Year resolution: play the guitar more. That's actually one of mine as well. Yeah, my guitar is sitting there covered in dust. I tried to play it there the other day, and like I can't remember any of the old songs I used to play or anything. Like I've played a bit in like pubs and stuff, and I used to love it, and I used to play it constantly. Like when I first started playing the guitar, I was playing like hours a day. And that's years ago. And then I started in the industry, and the whole guitar thing kind of went out swanny. So unfortunately, I haven't played it, and I'd love to get back into it because I love even that, like not to go out and earn money playing it or anything like that, or playing pubs again or anything. I don't really care about that stuff, but like just playing it, and I love even, you know, it's great when you're having a drink with friends or whatever, and you can have a bit of a sing song. And literally play anything other than Wonderwall. But that's a great one. It's great to have at least, like, you know, being an artist and having that passion and love for it is great, but I think it's good to have at least one other thing you like to do, so you're not always relying on just artwork as an outlet, and just, you know, sculpting or whatever as an outlet. It's good to be layered. Like a JP here. There he is, new man, new job, yeah. New year, new me. New Marvel me. Yeah, it's exciting. It's always nice to, there's something nice about starting a new job. It feels like a new, you know, I don't know, it feels like there's, I don't know, there's something like new, everything feels a bit fresh again or something like that. Go back to the drawing board and learn tons of stuff all over again, which sounds like a pain, but actually I think it's good. It's good to do that. You don't want to stay in your comfort zone for too long because you get stagnant. It's not the ideal way to be. This is a bit better. It's more my tempo. Not My Tempo. What is that out of? What's the name of that film? Great film. Not My Tempo. He hurls the chair at him. Was it J.K. Simmons? What a legend. John's asking, will you still have time to stream despite the new Marvel job? Of course, I will make time. If that was to change, like streaming is a priority. I like doing this. So you know, I prioritize this in terms of how I dish out my time. So it'll be one of the last things to go. So I'll always try. So if it is a case that I ever stop doing these streams, you know, it's because I'm on an unholy level of busy. Because I think I've only missed like 2 or 3 since I started doing these. I could be wrong, maybe it was more, but I'm pretty sure I've only missed. I do try to keep to the schedule and do it every week. Every week I'm on. You know what I'm saying? There's this. No. It would be nice if that was a bit not like that. Yeah, that's better. Just have to suck it up. Radio happy. That's we can deal with this one. So I guess we don't have to do both. Stream again. Mask. Flip the mask. Just give a little volume. Slow down. I could do that. I could sculpt this big volume in, but I think I might just do that so I can keep it clean. Z remesh that just to redistribute. Same again, just Z remesh. Hello. It's actually nice. So you can see, like, as I'm doing it, I'm looking at like the relationship between like this point and the jaw. You know what I mean? So as I'm adding shapes, I can determine where things need to go in relation to the other things around it. If I sit here trying to get this jaw perfect and then I add in something like this, so it's better off just to roughly knock them in and then pinch. And I'm also keeping it like low poly for now. A bit of a hard edge here. I'm still doing it in the low poly, so it won't be super sharp or anything when it's, you know, when it's smooth. It just gives it a plane change, that's all. That's where the eyes will see. The dog has this lovely habit of pushing the door open now, which is fabulous. And in 5 minutes he'll tap around the room, you'll hear his feet. He'll tap around the room once he's bored, looking for attention, so that I can reopen the door to let him back out again. Oh, I can't see. He also has a tendency to get in under my chair, so when I move, suddenly I hear a bark because I didn't know where he was, because my wheels of my chair's gone over his tail or something. Just a second, let me close this door. Right, I'm back. You didn't miss me too much. Bus open the door declaring, yeah, their entrance. Yeah, that's exactly what mine does. And he struts in like he's the Queen of Sheba. Doesn't even look at you, just walks straight by you. How are you making it to pull up 2 polyspheres at one time with symmetry? How are you making it to pull up 2 polygons? I mean, how am I doing this? How am I moving this? I just inserted a, just used the insert primitives. Just drag that in and then just moving it, literally just moving it around the gizmo. Is that what you mean? Macan weenies. Is that what you mean? Thank you very much, Mick. Yeah. Very much delighted. Obviously, I can't talk about it, which is always, of course, how it always is. You can't talk about production and so on, but it's exciting. Can't wait to get like fully into the swing of things. Andrew, all the way from LA. How are you, Andrew? I work in LA. Hold on, let me see. Cheers, Jen. Yeah, the whole so because I know people are gonna ask and people are gonna want to hear, I guess. It's hard to know. I don't know what to say. The Maxon situation. I can't. I don't think I can really talk too much about it. Because like, you know, there's business being done, so I can't just, and like, yeah, so I can't necessarily talk about it. I don't know any more than you guys, but I don't know. My view on it personally is that Pixologic has done a lot for me. Not just as a, you know, on ZBrush Live and on Pixologic Live and so on, but just even, I wouldn't be in 3D if it wasn't for ZBrush. This was like my gateway drug into 3D, and they've always done well, so they've always done good by me, and I think the community, so you know, I know people get a bit worried, but for me, I think they deserve the absolute, let's just say, benefit of the doubt, you know. So it's all, I understand. It's when these things happen, people tend to get nervous, no matter who it happens with. So I get why it's to be expected, but you know, that's all I'd say. That's all. I don't want to get too into it. I just, you know, still here, still using ZBrush, still enjoying it, still doing the streams, still making sculpts. So as long as that remains the case, I'm happy. And Mac and Weenie says, I'm really new to ZBrush. Yeah, that's no problem. There's no such thing as a good or bad question. I was just making sure I understood the question. But yeah, of course, if you're new, by all means, feel free to ask any questions. So this is going to be the difficult part of this sculpt, is getting these volumes. There's a lot of little subtle differences in the volumes. Here, I'll pull up the bigger image here. So there's a lot of little shifts in the volume, so that's going to be the difficult part. For for this feller. But like I said, for now, it's just like generally getting the shape. The more of the shape we get in, the more informed we'll be. It's really the key of it. Now, I think I'm gonna duplicate these. I'm going to use this because again it's just one big clean form, so I can use the clean side of it and then just stretch it out. Try to get that shape in the ballpark. I can see based on what looks like a ridge here, see the way the light looks like it's hitting here. So this is pointing up, and then this is pointing towards us, and then this is pointing up, and then this is pointing towards us. So there's a ridge here. Which I don't have currently here. So we need to pull this out. I should really do that at the... Oh. I should really do that in the lowest subdivision so I don't skew things too much. Don't get the lumps and bumps. Jace, welcome all the way from Jamaica. It's awesome. I'd love to go to Jamaica. Sorry, I'm just catching up here. Oh yeah. I am sorry, Andrew, I am in Dublin, but I'm working for Marvel, which is in LA. That's what I meant. I work in LA, but I actually don't. I work for a company in LA. I was jesting. It only ever pulls... Okay, so Mac and Weenies is saying it only ever pulls in one for me, but I only ever append, so maybe I need to draw it on. When you append, it will just give you one sphere. You can pull it to the side and use mirror and weld, and that will give you, it'll mirror it to the other side. Or what I'm doing is I'm actually using the insert meshes, which is the IMM primitives here. So if you go brush I for insert, you'll see all the list of insert brushes here, and you have then, you see primitives, you have two of these here, so you can select whatever out of this list of primitives, and then because I'm in symmetry and this is a brush, when I drag it out, it won't, good to remember, it won't if it's got, this mesh has subdivision levels. This mesh has no subdivision levels, so this will work. So we'll do that again. Insert, and then we'll use this one, and I can just drag it out. So it's a good way to add in, it's like adding lumps of clay. So that's why I keep it up here. That makes sense. This really needs to come out. So you can get something in here for the eyeball. See, because we're using ZBrush and we're keeping the topology where we want it, I can also mask really easily. And I'm holding down Alt while I do that, pinch, so that pinches inwards. Sit down and stand there just to push that in a little bit. Who this? You sound like Conor McGregor. Never heard that one before. I actually I live near where Conor McGregor is from, but I'm no relation. I just happen to also be Irish and from Dublin. No, I'm only messing. I am Conor McGregor. Nice. Bit of Irish sculpting. Fair play to you. Except when I talk, I don't talk like this and slow down every word and annihilate your eardrums all the time. That's not how he talks. He has to do that for the cameras or whatever, I guess. He's probably been told this is how you talk now. And he has to do that, because otherwise if he talks like he usually would, no one would understand him when he does his press and stuff. We use a bit of vacuum curve. Those fellas. Just sneaky smooth on. No. There she is. Now, I feel like as we've been editing here, we have to shrink this head in too much. I don't want to do that. Alright, how to mount your dragon? No way. Hold on. The gob needs a bit of work. The gob does need a bit of work, pal. Fair play to you. Well spotted. Glad it can help. Mac and Weenies, hope that, yeah, I'm glad that helps. Creature looks like the movie Dragon with the Viking boy. The gob need. Oh yeah. How to mount your dragon. That's gas. Here it's how to train your dragon. How to mount your dragon. Yeah, the gob needs a bit of work. That's going to be the hard part. Well, that and the volumes in the head. There's a bunch of them. But we'll get there. We'll get there. I met once in Lust in Belfast. He was buying beard shampoo, yeah, of course. In Lush, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, I'd say that was interesting. He was just hanging out in like a boots or something. Why did you choose stylized over realistic? Can you share some backstory or inspiration? Well, I mean, okay. A lot of it is to do, same reason anyone picks a certain style is to do with your own interests, what got you into it. Like, even as a kid, like I always loved, you know, I loved a lot of animated TV shows, like, you know, Spider-Man, Batman, all the like X-Men and the Hulk and all those 90s animated TV shows. I also loved, you know, like the old Warner Brothers stuff, like Roadrunner and all those kinds of things. Everything, Cartoon Network stuff, like Dexter's Laboratory and Johnny Bravo. Do you remember Johnny Bravo? So yeah, and even and I continued to enjoy them even as I got to continue to always watch them when I got older, and like a lot of my friends and stuff were more interested in, you know, when I was still watching like animated TV shows, and all my friends were watching like Saved by the Bell and all this kind of stuff, and I just wasn't, no interest in it. So when I eventually, as I got older, like, and at that age I was drawn and all that kind of thing. So and I loved monsters, and I loved you know, like I remember I had all the toys for like the Street Sharks. I had like the Hulk, Venom. I loved like yeah, like monsters and stuff when I was a kid. I wasn't really interested in like football and cars and a lot of the kind of things that a lot of my friends were into. And I guess from that it was just like I liked imagining things rather than recreating reality. I preferred, it's more, I feel like recreating what's already there is a much more technical minded thing to do, where doing stylized, although you have to understand reality, it's like you have to know the rules before you can break them. I instead just liked the idea of, you know, imagining creatures, or even with, like, now I do a lot of my work is human, almost all of it really. Which is nothing to, like, I love doing this kind of stuff as well, but let's get in these fin things, they're important. Before we see, notice how this face is far from done, but I'm not sitting here noodling in trying to figure it out because I haven't got all the pieces in yet. So I'll show you a quick way we can do this. Show you one way we can do this that I like to do it. Sorry. So yeah, of course, then because that was my interest when I was older, by the time I got to a level where I started working professionally, that was what I spent years drawing, and eventually sculpting and stuff. So when I got hired, my portfolio was full of that stuff. And I did do some realistic stuff as well, you know, over the years. Well, plenty of it, because I did a lot of studying of realistic. I did a lot of studying of anatomy and so on. I did a lot of like life drawing for years, understanding like the body. So, but then I had to do more then to learn how to take what I learned about reality and figure out how to play with it, like stylize it, simplify it, use shape design and all those wonderful things. There we go. Just slice it out with an old plane. Let me see. And topology, that topology is perfect for it because it lends to the support loops. Bang, bang, bang. And I can top of the head. So yeah, it really started from what like I was into, what I enjoyed the look of, and because I was watching all those kind of cartoons and stuff, like my visual library built around the kind of things that I enjoyed watching. Naturally. So that's how I ended up doing stylized. It fits me a lot better than doing realistic. But you know, it depends. I fluctuate on how stylized. I'm always stylized. I always do stylized. I've never done any realistic sculpting for production. I'd avoid, like, if people have asked me to do it, but I never took the jobs because it's not something that I enjoy. Personally, that's not to say that there's anything wrong with it either, of course. It's just not my cup of tea. Some people love golf, some people don't. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, some cackling outside, I think. Yeah, so does that answer that question? I hope so. It's to add to it, like I said, and I mean it. I'm not just saying that now because I work there, but like when I was a kid, like in Ireland, it's not like there wasn't. I know of one comic book shop, like a literal comic book shop, where that's what it sells. It sells comic books and like figurines of comic book characters. That's all it sells. It's called Forbidden Planet. It's in town. It's in the city centre in Dublin. It's the only one I know of. So when I was a kid, you know, I knew one friend who used to get comics, and even that, he had like one box, and that was like, he was like a comic. He was like the person, you know. His name was Mikey, and he was like the comic kid. You know what I mean? He was the only one. So comics, like, were never a big thing here. So, that wasn't where I got into. Like, I got into, you know, superheroes and comic book characters through watching them on TV. But even then, especially when I was a kid, there was very little channels in Ireland. You had like 11 channels, and only one of them had, eventually two, had stuff for kids on them. And one of them was Nickelodeon. So, and Nickelodeon didn't have any of that kind of stuff on it. Like, I still loved a bunch of Nickelodeon cartoons, but it didn't have all those cartoons on it. So when something like the Hulk or Spider-Man or X-Men or Batman came on, I like couldn't believe me luck. Loved it. And I'd sit there watching shows that I didn't even want to watch, just in the hopes the next one might be any sort of, you know, comic book superhero or just something cool. I just liked cool. It wasn't that to be comic book specifically. Like, you know, Biker Mice from Mars, like I said before, Street Sharks. There was tons of them. So yeah, so that's why I ended up doing this, and that's why it's really cool to be working for Marvel, because it really feels like, you know, when I was a kid sitting in front of the telly drawing on the floor, trying to draw Spider-Man and doing a terrible job of it because I was like 4. You know, telling my mum that I was gonna make cartoons when I got older. So it's quite cool to actually be able to say that, you know, a lot of kids will, you know, everyone does it. When you're a kid, you're like, oh, I'm gonna be a fireman or whatever. But then you grow up, and, you know, that's absolutely not what you want to do. But so it's interesting. It's interesting. It's not better or worse. It's just interesting. It's a fun, kind of unique, I guess, thing to be one of those people that was like, that actually went and did the thing that the 3-year-old version of themselves said they'd do. So I don't know, do with that what you will, but yeah. So it only makes sense that I ended up doing Stylized. What am I? Oh, it looks. What you gonna do that for? Mask, lasso. Again, this is a bit. Doing the trick. Street Sharks. I haven't heard them forever. Yeah, I used to love Street Sharks. Had all the toys and everything. Do I play? I don't play Overwatch. Not that it's a great game, but I don't have the bandwidth to be playing a lot of like competitive shooter type. I like nowadays. I always just play like one player games generally. That I know there's a start, middle, and end, and when it's ended, I can go back to work because and even then, like sometimes, like I wanted to. I remember I ended up playing it eventually when I got some free time. But when Horizon Zero Dawn first came out, and I played the tutorial section, like the beginning of it, and then after the map opens up and you get the first time you see the map and most of it's all cloud, I turned it off and I couldn't. The anxiety when I seen that map, I was like, that's gonna take forever, and I thought I actually can't because it's not even just like work as in working for the studio. It's also like because I want to do personal work and I want to do the streams and all that kind of stuff, and if I get addicted to this game and I spend hours and hours every day playing it, I won't get anything done, and that gives me anxiety. So Horizon Zero Dawn got turned off and I didn't play it for God knows how long. Last year I played Horizon Zero Dawn for the first time because I seen the second was coming out. I was like, I have to play it because it's, some people kind of say it's pretty good, so I better play it. Same with like God of War. Obviously, you got to play God of War. Kind of animal doesn't play that. Creature design in Horizon was amazing. Yeah, for sure. Those models, like, that's the thing. Like, if you ask me to do one of those models, this is the thing. It's not like a great modeler. It's just a great modeler that models anything. Like, if you ask me to make those, it would probably take me forever because I've never modeled, something that's that hard surface and intricate. But that's kind of the point. If I was really into like mechanical things as a kid, then chances are, and I went the same route and I went into modeling, sculpting, then I would have ended up doing more hard surface stuff. Would have had loads of tips and tricks and little bits ways to make those things faster and have a better eye for those things. Where because of the interests that I had, I was much more interested in organic, what you would now call organic. It's not to say I'm not. I love doing some hard surface work as well, but I've obviously a lot more experience doing more organic shapes, and I put more time into like anatomy and so on rather than the like the kind of more mechanical modeling. For example, like a friend of mine, Rory Bjorkman, incredible artist, and if you look at his portfolio, you can tell that he was into that stuff when he was a kid because he all of his models are like, they have that thing to them. For a long time he did all these vehicles and they were really they're amazingly done, and he understood how the things function so he could model them correctly and stuff, and now like he's done these a series of these like mechanical these like robots, and again the same thing, even though like he's still using certain principles of like shape design and stuff like that, but he's using them for a different subject matter because that was his, and he was really into that kind of thing when he was growing up. So do is make these thicker. And I can use the move brush because it's symmetry, so I'm pushing from either side to thin it out from the top. I could even actually just use the pinch. Don't want to pinch too much though, because I want it all to be the same thickness. Because that wouldn't be very organic. That would be more mechanical. Or actually, let's just for the sake of showing you, another thing I could do that might be quicker. Say take here, yeah, here, smooth that. So we don't want to smooth the end, and turn off symmetry, so we center it. Do. See? So that's actually now that we've done that. See, I just want to taper out the bottom a bit more. When we are at the end of all this, I'd probably go in and just, you know, just break that symmetry a little bit or whatever, just again, just so it's a bit more, you know, organic. I can duplicate this, turn off symmetry just to throw it over here. That's when I use my local symmetries on. Just gonna turn the symmetry on this. So now that I've dragged it over to the side, this is Maxon weenies. This is, you know, if you're insert a sphere, it's the same. You know, you have one object and it's off, pull it over to one side, go into geometry, go into modify topology, go into mirror, hit mirror and weld. I have that I have a shortcut key for that, which is Control Shift Alt and A. And then I can take one of these. Oh, sorry. So they're hidden, and then just 3 hidden. Kill those support loops. So I don't have symmetry on. I came for that title. I need to, where is he? Which one's for sculpting or mesh? Well, you need a mesh to sculpt on, so I guess technically the mesh. Thanks, no plastic. Was not here to start. You made the inner skull with boolean. No. I just made the whole head, split it with the slice, remeshed, Z-remeshed either side, and then just extruded it inwards. Just extruded it inwards, same thickness over there. That's how I did it. That's how I did it. So I'm just going to take the plane so I can reshape this. Don't need that. I can even delete, so I've less messing around. Don't need a load of points here, don't need a big intricate shape, I need a nice clean smooth one. Here is collapse here. See? Some of you, if you aren't used to working with topology and retopoing and stuff like that, might look at that and go, what the hell did he just do? That's like a whole other, that's like a whole tutorial to go over exactly that kind of like topology and how it works and support loops and all that. If you're like completely fresh to that, that's a whole thing to itself. So if you're not used to that, it is actually really important. If you're new to modeling and you want to, so I need to sneeze, guys. Apologies. Hold on. Oh no, it's not gonna happen. Oh god. Oh, this is torture. Oh, that's so upsetting. Well, it's ruined my day. That's unfortunate. Where was I? Yeah, so topology. Take note of that, and you know, if you're new to sculpting, focus on your sculpting for now, but that's something that you will need to upskill on at some stage. Learning how all these loops work and what effects they have. Especially if you want to do characters, super important. It should be above here. So split that way. Around. Oh, the little pins are showing you where, if there's a lot of stretching, So watch where that pin is and see where this is. See where the edge of this is. Watch where the pin is. And then when I unsmooth it, that's exactly where it is. Same up here. It's just telling you where the actual, because I'm like preview smoothing this. I'm not actually I'm not actually subdividing it. So it's just showing you anywhere that there's a vertex or point that's moved a good distance. It will do that to let you know. Hey Gambit, how are you? So I could do a catching up on that. Okay, not a sculpt. The Fury with no money. Not a sculptor or a modeler, but I came for that title because it rhymes. That was actually a viewer that came up with that title and requested that I change the title to that, and so I did. I got onto the powers that be and said I need a new title because it was genius. For its simplicity and its execution. That's what makes it as good as it is. So I can't take credit for it. What's the process for this piece? Jean-Marc Chappelle. What's the process for this piece? Do you keep everything at a certain number of polys? Will you merge them, then Z-remesh? What's the workflow for building up pieces when working towards finishing them? Yeah. For now, I keep things pretty low poly. Because I don't need them to be high poly. High poly is for high detail, and there's no. I'm right now. I'm trying to establish the general primary shapes, which are big forms, and it means, for example, when I'm moving this around, because there's only a few edges along here, it'll hold a nice curve, a nice shape. If I add a bunch of edges in, it'll mess with it. It's also why I use it as a plane and not a mesh with thickness, because I can add thickness after. Let's flip this, so let's flip that back around. I want a bit more thickness than that. I can even just, oh, sorry, it's still on there. Change that to insert. On it. That way I can control the thickness, because I can come in here and just, use the transform and control tap, because it's got different poly groups for each side because I've extruded it. And I can thicken up one end, thin out the other, so I can control the thickness properly. That support loop's a bit much. Necessarily want that looking like it's got a hard edge. Yeah. See me? Just keep things low poly, easy to use. Makes life quicker and easier. Get the nice shapes in there. To control your shapes and get them the way you want them to look, rather than trying to fight them. You've got so many polys. needs to come back more. Realize this needs to come up to the jaw, not the back of the head. So again, this is like the nice part of having separate pieces. If we pull that out with Dynamesh or whatever, we kind of screwed. And that jaw actually needs to come forward more. So, you see what I mean about we can use this then to cover up the back of that. You see what I mean about getting pieces in, because then you can start to see how things work in relation to each other. Just do that as quick as possible. Make that your first goal of like just blank out everything else and just be like, right, just get in every piece. Even like as I'm doing it here, and I've said this before, but I should probably mention it more often, is because it might be misleading, I guess, because when you see me sculpting on stream, although it's similar, I'm using the same processes and everything, it's not quite how I'd look if you were like looking over my shoulder without me knowing, you know, because one, I'm trying to talk, I'm trying to look up every now and again to check the chat. It's harder to like really concentrate, because a big part of getting into sculpt or any piece of artwork or anything like that, even like playing the guitar, is what's called a state of flow, which is a genuine thing that happens to humans. And it happens to them after a certain amount of time when they're really concentrating hard on something. Eventually they get into this state of flow. And a lot of you have probably experienced it, whether it be with sculpting or something else, where time starts to melt away, and whatever playlist you were listening to, that at one stage you were sitting there like, I don't like that song, whatever, you just get into a zone, you can't hear, see, you get tunnel vision, you just, before you know it, like 4 or 5 hours has gone by. That's a state of flow. And when you're doing that, like, concentration levels better, all that kind of thing. And it's apparently a known fact that if you get distracted in a state of flow, it can take up to 20 minutes or more to get back into it. Probably usually more. But when you're trying to kind of multitask like this, where I'm talking and that kind of thing, I'm not necessarily get into quite that state of flow. So it's, you see me here and I might end up like playing with something or whatever. It's because I'm not I'm thinking of you guys, I'm thinking of like an answer, I'm thinking of blah blah blah, where really what I should be doing and what you should do when you're sculpting is when you're starting out a sculpt, really concentrate on just getting in those shapes, get the general gist of each volume. Don't bother if it's wrong, as long as it's in the ballpark. Get them all in there, and once they're all in there, then go in and start bit by bit getting them more accurate. You know what I mean? Like, how long are we into this? Oh, okay, an hour and a half. So an hour and a half, I would say, probably, if I was sitting here sculpting on my own, I'd definitely have the teeth in there. Sorry. I'd have the neck, the waddle. Is that the waddle? That kind of thing in there, but so just so you're aware, you know, if you see me noodling or whatever, remember that I'm also streaming and concentrating on lots of different things. So when you're doing this on your own, you'll be more accurate because you'll be able to concentrate a bit better. Hey Jeffrey. Man coat amigo. Thanks man. Glad you like it. Is this? No, this is just. Oh, I have double on that. Yeah. So. Hey Paul, hey chat, hope everyone's doing well today. Thanks very much, Gambit. What would you do to make those head shapes fatter? Do you mean like if it's just bigger? Okay. You can. So if I wanted to make. You mean these? Sorry. What would you do to make those head shapes fatter? I mean, there's multiple things you can do, which are gizmo selected. You can hold Control and scale, and it will inflate. There's also inflate in deformation, and then other than that, you know, you can just scale, if that's what you mean. So yeah, if I wanted to like make these fatter, I could do it that way. I could also like mask and inflate, and you know, I'll get a taper. PC specs. Okay. What is it? Oh. Just a second. I have them here. Right. Okay, the CPU is an AMD Ryzen Threadripper 3990X 64 core CPU. I mean, the motherboard is the motherboard, whatever. 128 gigs of Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro DDR4 8x16. If that matters to you. Graphics card is NVIDIA RTX 3080. And I mean, that's really all that matters, right? Does anyone ever want to know more than that? Mind you, that is way overpowered to just use ZBrush. ZBrush is not nearly that demanding. There's Boomer on the move. It's not nearly demanding enough to require a PC at that level. So don't worry if you don't. To be fair, most people don't go out of the way and spend the stupid amount of money that I did on PC, unless you're really into PCs. The only reason I did it is because I just wanted, you know, a really nice PC that I know will last me a long time and I won't have to update or do anything like that with. So It's really laziness. I just threw the kitchen sink at it. But I love it. I love my badass PC. And that's the other thing, like I render and texture and stuff as well, so that tends to get a bit heavier. ZBrush can handle it really well. See, right now I'm doing silly stuff because I'm sitting here noodling with the head. There's no teeth. Stupid. Don't do that. This is what I mean. I get distracted and start talking about a PC, and now I'm doing exactly what I told you guys not to do. Oh, I can't help it. Okay. Let's do this thing. Let's use our old trusty plane again. Insert. So this time what we'll do is, rather than cut it with this slice, we will subdivide a few times. And we'll just draw. Didn't subdivide enough apparently. There's then pause again, yeah. He's in his little bed now under my desk where he sleeps. So again, I'm not worried too much about getting it exactly right or anything. I can move it, I can shift it around once I have it made. But I am like looking, where does that line head towards? Just try to get it more or less in the ballpark. Is this your concept or someone else's sketch? This is someone else's sketch. This is from an artist called Patry Balanovsky. Hold on, I'll put the name into the chat. Actually, I can put his art station into the chat. And there you go. Here's Patry's art station. He's awesome. Extagi, how's it going? Welcome. Space Mouse, no Space Mouse, no. It's a regular old keyboard. It's hard to change from the keyboard. I got a new graphics tablet. I went Huion. Am I saying that right? You guys will know. Tell me how to say that phonetically. I got a Huion 24. What's it called? The Canvas. So Kamvas Pro 24. So I'm really looking forward. I should get that hopefully soon. Really looking forward to getting that. It's a 4K pen display. With some sweet color specs and all that good stuff that you want. And it's a bit bigger than the one, because the one I have now is it's getting old, so I wanted an upgrade. Said I'd treat myself. That said, as I like to make sure, full disclosure, they are not necessary. Especially to any of you guys that are starting out or anything, that is a ridiculous amount of money to be spending on the equipment, unless you know you're earning money with it or whatever. I think so. I mean, it depends. You do what you want with your money, of course, but for me, it'd be a waste of money if you're not doing this consistently for quite some time, because they are expensive. Huion is cheaper than Wacom. I've always used Wacom, so I just thought, well, I've heard good things about Huion, so I'll give it a shot. Now I can do this two ways. I can do that, which will work. So see all these jaggedy bits. ZBrush doesn't like that. I'll show you. Let's see. It'll make a lawyer out of me now. Oh, sorry, forgot that. Oh yes, I have to delete the. Yeah. Delete the. Sorry, lower subdivision level, so I can delete hidden. So now let's see your mesh and see what happens. Yeah, okay. So see this kind of messing? It's all stretchy and stuff. That's just because ZBrush is trying to keep. If you ever see that, yeah, polish exactly. I'll show you now. Just for the guys that don't know, it's trying to keep those jagged edges because it thinks that's the shape that you have. So ZBrush is like, oh, okay, he wants that, so let's try to keep it. So you go to ZBrush, it gives you all these jagged lines because it's trying to keep it there for you, but you don't actually want that. So yeah, you go into deformation and polish here, and it'll get rid of it. Just drag it on polish by groups. And now I ZBrush, and let's see what happens. Actually, we can lower this. There's no need to have it up so high. Is that tablet nice? I have a Huion Full HD is 4K, so 4K is much better. Well, on paper 4K is certainly a lot better. Yeah, like my monitor now is my Cintiq is HD, so it's 1080p, where the monitor that I'm looking at here is QHD, so it's higher again, and that's even a lot better. Like, that just feels better to look at. And then the TV I have here is 4K, and yeah, it just feels better to look at. So yeah, you know, if it's a case that, you know, you want to spend, you have the money to spend, because it is it's an indulgent thing. It's not, you know, super necessary or anything. But you know, if you want to do that. It's annoying, isn't it? Let's see if we can work here. I really wish that just went straight there, and that just went straight there, and that just went straight there. But it did not. Do you know what I mean? Why did you do that? Yeah, that's fine. It'll do. Is that? Back up the wrong tree here. See how the support loops, see that's like stretch, and then when I bring the support loops in, hardens it, you see? Delete some loops there, just make this straight line easy to manage. Don't need you. Don't need you. What you do at all? Just get that edge. So see, once you understand, like understanding topology and how that works, can really help you actually get nice shapes. The more you know. Because I want those nice clean shapes. And again, if I go in and like manually retop out this, I could make it better again. Don't know why I'm using a mouse. Hold on guys, I'll get to the chat now. Oh, like that. Lo-fi music is a great way to speed up getting into the state of flow. Something about it. It is for me anyway. I shouldn't say that because maybe it's not for everybody, but it definitely is for me. Anything with a nice, like a nice beat to it. I used to work in a studio called Brown Bag, and I sat next to this woman, Cara, and got along great with Cara. And after a while, she got you know, comfortable enough that she gave out to me one day, because I tend to, when I'm working and I listen to something like this, you know, to keep me in the zone. I'll be sitting there like bopping away, and after a while it became this thing of like, in the side of her eye she can just constantly see me like dancing in my chair. But it's the best way I know to kind of like get myself really, you know, I'm concentrating if I'm doing that. It's like that thing, you know, people like stick their tongue out when they're concentrating or whatever. So the idea here, and it's the same with the other two, for any guys who didn't see the last two streams. Same idea in terms of workflow. Get all these shapes in and then dynamesh them together, and then sculpt into that. But for now, it's a case of making sure not to jump the gun too early and dynamesh too quick. And then realising, oops, I need to change this shape and this shape, and now I have to do it with everything combined. You know, like say if I wanted to tighten this edge and this is now part of that, I can't just run the pinch across that, because I'll be distorting this fin. So I mean, I don't need to tell you, you're intelligent people, you can see what I'm saying, but just to be sure I'm being clear. A better look at this. Real quick. Our last yap. That's what I'm going to call this segment. I'm going to start changing it. I'm going to start calling this the last yap, where I stop sculpting and read the last few of those comments of yours before I jump off and call it a night. Somebody stop me. I know I should stop. I know I should. Hold on. One more. Sorry, Siren. I'm on the clock. I can't gonna upset the powers that be. Yeah. Just wanna make sure I get that bit right. Run over with a pinch. And this has like a bit of a yoke, a doofer here that sticks out and comes around. So this doesn't just go straight into the head. There's like a whole lump comes out here. His neck giblets. I think giblets is just a part of a chicken, part of a chicken's innards you can eat or can't eat. I think it's you can't eat because you have to remove them when you're prepping a chicken. I think that's how that works. And then this is the comb, and then this is the waddle. I mean, I assume it works the same for dinosaurs. And I only know that from sculpting. I don't live in a farm or anything. Is that muzzle too long? I think it is, isn't it? Huh? Right, we'll do this and then we'll call it. So I kind of want to know, like I'm obviously working off the side view because that's what the concept is. But before dynameshing and whatever else, once I'm happy with all the shapes, I'd want to, you know, have a look at the front as well and see can I do anything without messing with the side too much. Should have done that again. And get some nice shapes out of the side. Or sorry, get some nice shapes from the front by just pulling in and out, so that it doesn't actually affect the side so much. Teeth are gonna like sit into it. We'll have to do some sculpting into around here to getting these little doodly bits. And yeah, I should really stop sculpting now. What happens if I do this? Bam. Is that a creature from the raptor family? Let's go with that. Sure. I have no idea. I guess it could be. I don't know nearly enough about dinosaurs, so maybe Patry Balanovsky will know. I love that name. Right, where did I miss? Oh, when am I getting the tablet? I have no idea. I think it was like somewhere before the 17th. Or no. I don't know. I can't remember. So I could be thinking of the 27th, somewhere between the 27th of January. I'm not sure. Ireland is a bit rough on the old deliveries now because there's complications with the whole England leaving the EU and all sorts of funny stuff, transitions and all that crack. It's a work in progress. So it'll be a while anyway. And yeah, I'm reading the chat. Can you see the concentration on my face? Where was I? Got the canvas 22, knock off 4K unfortunately, but I'm digging it. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Yeah, another artist a while ago was showing me, he got the canvas 22 and really loves it, so that's what I went to get, and then I seen it, I was like, ooh, and I decided to treat myself and go up the extra level, because you know the idea is that you're going to be holding onto it for years. So all in all, I thought, well, sure, screw it, I'll go the full haul and get the 4K one. It does make a difference, I think, but you know, like I said, not necessarily. Most, like, the majority of the time I've worked, both at home and in the industry, has been on a Intuos, so standard graphics tablet. So it's not necessary, but I do love having them. But one thing I would say is, for me, don't just go buy one. Try it out first, especially if you're gonna buy a smaller one. I bought a smaller Cintiq. When the Pro series came out, I bought this 16-inch, and I didn't like it because it was just too small for me. Eventually, then I went out and got a 22-inch one, and that was fine then. But I had to sell the Pro one, or the 16-inch one, and it was just a headache. So definitely try it if you want to get a pen display. Try to get your hands on one, even if it's wherever way you can. When you get that. For this, I am using crease polygroup function. It's handy, great. Oh, it's great sculpt, by the way. Thank you very much, Carol. Chris, Paul was just wondering, should I export all 52 blend shapes together or separate from ZBrush for my animation? Yeah, you can export all you have them in layers, I assume, so you can export them. I guess you know this if you're asking. Sorry, so you plug in Maya blend shapes, and you can export all the layers. So yeah, there's no reason not to do that if you have them all in here. Is that what you're asking? Sorry, let me export all 52 blend shapes together or separate from ZBrush for my animations. Oh yeah, you can export them all together. You can use that button and export them all together. Let me just double check so you can see it. Export blend shapes. See, it'll export every layer out. as a blend shape. So what is your favorite resin to print in? I haven't experimented with a lot of resins. I use the Anycubic one when I got the printer. I got some of that and that works, so I've been using that since. Although there's actually a failed print in that thing today twice, which is really frustrating. But it's usually worked fine. But yeah. Yeah, sorry Chris, I was trying to get as much done as I could before the end of the stream. Do you do your own streams somewhere else? Not so much anymore. I would like to, and I've been meaning to for quite some time. You can, I'll tell you what, this always feels really shamelessly pluggy, but there's my link tree that will give you all my social handles. So let me see, all my socials are in that, just in a nice list. You can click on ones you want or whatever, ignore the ones you don't, or there's, yeah. So if I'm streaming on my own channel, I do have my own Twitch channel, and I used to stream on that when I had the time. I don't as much nowadays. But I would like to do that again. There's a bunch of stuff that I'd like to do on my own channel that I just haven't got around to it. You know, all sorts of other things kind of getting in the way, but I will get around to it, and when I do, I'll announce it on my social media accounts, so you'll be notified if you do want to follow me there. There's a bunch of stuff, including like tutorials and just stuff about technical modeling as well, that I'd like to cover at some stage, to help some of you guys with that end of things. As always, very cleanly carved, goddamn helpful. Thank you very much, Miroslav. Much appreciated. So yeah, it's the liver, lungs and heart, but they can be used, I think. Yeah, I've heard of I've eaten chicken hearts, believe it or not. Only the once now, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it personally, but I know like in Brazil it's very popular. Well, so I'm told. Oh, the jaw. No, the jaw is not a layer. The jaw is just another subtool. Maybe Sean is asking, thanks for the info. How will you Dynamesh everything and still preserve the really clean edges? If you retopo after Dynamesh, how do you get the real clean edges back? When you Dynamesh, like, it'll still hold those edges. Like, it's going to Dynamesh the shape there. If I put a sharp edge in, the Dynamesh won't kill it, unless I Dynamesh it too low. But I Dynamesh this at a high resolution, well, relatively high, whatever, as much as I need, and then duplicate the whole thing, Z-remesh, and then add some subdivision levels and reproject that Z-remeshed model from the Dynamesh model, so I get that high res detail back. That makes sense. And then I can, you know, if I want, I can do some auto UVs, so I can do some quick texturing or whatever. Or yeah, I could just go in and decimate it, and then bring it into, like, I tend to do my retopo with Maya, so I could really easily, just after I Dynamesh what I need, I can decimate it and bring it all into Maya and do my retopo back in here. I can either auto UV it myself, manually poly paint it, and maybe bring it into Substance, yeah, that kind of thing. No problem, Chris. Which program do you think imports them well without many issues? I do my blend shapes. I do all my model, like my technical model and like blend shapes and stuff in Maya. It will work on any of them though. Hey Baymax, I see you came in on the tail end of us. Posted a video in November 13th, 2020 that shows that exact thing on blend shapes. Oh yeah, I did, yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, it was one of the. It was for the tips series that Pixelogic put out. I did one of them. So I'd say if you put in, let me see. Yeah, if you put it into Pixelogic, like Pixelogic Paul Deasy, you'll find it in there, easy. I went through like doing the blend shapes, but for in terms of you just asking to export, like that's how I'd export them all, and that will work fine, and you can bring them into whatever you want, and it'll import fine. Yeah, so I think that's all is covered. I answered everyone's questions. I always try to stay on top of the chat. It's not easy, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's hard to do that in Sculpt. Sometimes I do wonder, am I better off? I decided a long time ago when I started doing this that I was gonna concentrate on the chat, because that's what you're here for. You're here to talk. I can sculpt all the time, and I can still get enough done, more or less. Or should I concentrate on the sculpting? You know what I mean? And just have a look at the chat every now and again. I don't know. I do like having the app switches, but yeah. So we've got this guy to the point that we can probably do. You can probably do it, you know, working it out a little bit better from the front, just refining the shapes a little bit more. I'll probably thicken up that neck at the back a little bit. This looks like, you know, a big volume kind of, so something, you know, a bit of that or whatever. So yeah, I'd still go into this a little bit more just to make sure we have it right. Add the teeth, of course, refine these, add the little nubbin bit in here, and then refine around the eye, because that's really that's like the complicated part, I suppose. You know, there's a few different things going on here that I'd like to make sure I have figured out before we go any further. And then this gear here, where the teeth attach. This is a funny one, like where does that attach? Is that attached to the bottom lip or the top lip? It's facing down, so you assume the top lip, but the top lip looks way further in. So where does that come from? It's often things that happen when you're doing working off 2D. But yeah, we will figure it out. You do it. Something that I always do as well is put in the pupil, because that can help feel where the character is a bit more alive or whatever. So that often helps. So I'm knackered, guys, as you could tell, because it's late here in Dublin. So I love yous and leave yous. Remember, if you did enjoy it, do like and subscribe. There's myself every second Wednesday, and you've got a whole host of other like super talented artists doing loads of really cool stuff in ZBrush that you'll no doubtedly be entertained by and educated. So I mean, it's a double whammy. What's not to do? What's, you know what I mean? It's no brainer. Any suggestions, any critiques, any comments you'd like, you know, to do, comment section, hence the name. And I'll see you again in 2 weeks, and we'll continue this fella and continue our chats, and you can tell me all how you're getting on with the New Year's resolutions that you filled me in on earlier. Have you quit or what? And I'll let you know about mine, if I've even started them yet. Alright guys, so always a pleasure. Catch you.